You're strong. That's what everyone says, but no one asks what it's costing you. You're the one people call when something goes wrong. The calm voice in the chaos, the steady presence in the room, and most of the time you handle it. You always have. But lately, something feels different. Not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. You don't fall apart. You don't complain much. You keep showing up. That's what you do. But being the strong one means you rarely get to put anything down. You absorb tension. You smooth things over. You think ahead so others don't have to. And no one really notices how much that costs you. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from always being the stable one, and it doesn't show on the outside. If this feels familiar, there is nothing weak about you for feeling worn down. You learned how to be steady, how to stay composed, how to handle things without making them bigger than they need to be. Somewhere along the way, strength stopped being a choice. It became your role. You're the one who doesn't overreact, the one who gives advice, the one who listens longer than anyone else. And because you do it so well, people assume it doesn't cost you anything. But holding yourself together for everyone else takes energy. Staying reasonable when you're overwhelmed takes energy. Being the reliable one, every time, takes energy. You might not even talk about your exhaustion. You might downplay it. You might tell yourself other people have it harder. But quiet exhaustion still counts. You're not dramatic for feeling this way. You're not ungrateful. You're not failing. You're tired in a way that doesn't get acknowledged. And that kind of tired can build slowly, almost invisibly, over time. It probably didn't happen all at once. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be the strong one. It built slowly. Maybe you were the calm child in a loud house. Maybe you were the friend who mediated arguments. Maybe at work, you became the dependable one who never drops the ball. At first, it felt good. Being needed feels good. Being trusted feels good. Being the capable one feels solid. So you leaned into it. You started anticipating problems before they happened. You prepared for other people's emotions. You calculated how to keep things stable. You became the buffer. When tension rises, you lower your voice. When someone panics, you stay logical. When things fall apart, you start fixing. And over time, this doesn't just become something you do, it becomes who you are. People introduce you as reliable, responsible, strong. And those words sound like compliments, but they also come with an unspoken expectation. You don't get to unravel. You don't get to be the uncertain one. You don't get to say, I don't know how to handle this. Because if you fall apart, who holds everything else together? And that question sits quietly in the background, even when no one says it out loud. The hardest part isn't always what you do, it's what you don't allow yourself to feel. When you're the strong one, your emotions often go on hold. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later, after things calm down, after everyone else is okay. But later keeps moving. So you swallow the frustration, you shrink the disappointment, you translate your hurt into understanding, you become skilled at minimizing your own reactions. It's not that bad, I can handle it, they didn't mean it. And maybe all of that is true, but even true things can still hurt. You might cry in private or not at all. You might distract yourself instead of sitting with what you feel. Not because you don't have emotions, but because expressing them feels inconvenient, like it would disrupt the balance you work so hard to maintain. Sometimes you don't even know how to ask for support. What would you say? Where would you start? You're so used to being the steady one that needing reassurance feels unfamiliar, almost embarrassing. So you keep carrying it, quietly, and the more you suppress, the more distance grows between what you show and what you actually feel. There's a strange loneliness that comes with being dependable. People assume you're fine. They check in on the friend who cries openly. They worry about the one who seems overwhelmed. They offer help to the one who looks fragile. But you look composed. So they trust that you've got it handled. You become the safe place for everyone else, but you don't always have one of your own. You listen to their fears. You steady their doubts. You hold space for their breakdowns. And afterward, you go back to your own life, carrying what was never fully set down. Sometimes you wish someone would look at you closely, not at your performance, not at your competence, but at you. The parts that are tired, the parts that hesitate, the parts that don't feel strong at all. Yet you rarely show those parts. Because once people get used to you being solid, it feels risky to show cracks. What if they see you differently? What if they stop relying on you? What if you disappoint them? So you stay steady. And slowly, without meaning to, strength turns into distance. Under the exhaustion, there's often fear. If you stop being the strong one, who are you? So much of your identity is tied to being useful, reliable, capable. You're the one people lean on, the one who figures it out. And somewhere along the way, you may have started believing that this is why people stay. Because you're helpful, because you're steady, because you don't make things harder. So the idea of falling apart feels dangerous. What if your vulnerability makes someone uncomfortable? What if your honesty feels like too much? What if needing support makes you a burden? You might not say these thoughts out loud, but they're there. A quiet belief that care has to be earned, that love is safer when you're low maintenance, that your role is to carry, not to be carried. And letting that mask slip even a little feels like stepping into unknown territory. But strength was never meant to mean silence. Somewhere along the way, those two became tangled. You learned that being steady meant staying quiet about your own needs, that being reliable meant never wobbling, that being mature meant handling everything alone. But real strength isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to be honest about it. It doesn't disappear when you admit you're tired. It doesn't weaken when you say, "I need a minute." It doesn't collapse because you stop pretending everything is manageable. The role you've been playing is only one part of you. There is also a softer part, a part that wants to exhale, a part that wants to be seen without performing stability. And acknowledging that part doesn't erase your strength. It makes it more human. You don't have to drop everything at once. You don't have to transform overnight. But you are allowed to set something down, even briefly. You are allowed to say, "I'm tired," without explaining, without justifying. The people who truly value you don't only value your stability, they value your presence. And presence includes the days you're steady and the days you're not. You don't lose your worth when you soften. You don't become less reliable because you admit you need support. Being the strong one may be part of your story, but it doesn't have to be the only chapter. If this resonated, you can leave one word that describes how you've been feeling lately. And for now, just let yourself breathe. You don't have to hold everything in this moment.